Hello, so here we are, part 2 of painting the Union Brigade. Last video we completed the horse fairly quickly, and now we're going to focus on the rider, and he's going to be one of the Royal Dragoons. There he is. So he's been undercoated with the Citadel Grey Sear spray, but I suppose really any spray will do. I just happened to have some of that because I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. It's going to be a mixture of contrast and normal paints, and then we'll just see how he comes out. So I'm just going to get set up and we'll start. Okay, the first colour is going to be Blood Angels Red, and we're going to basically go over the coat and the tunic. And trying not to paint over the straps. And this colour comes out quite rich, which is good. Right, that's all the red down. The contrast paints are quite good for doing large areas of cloth or skin, because they deal with all this shading and highlighting. Other paints will go down just as quickly, but if you have to come back and do the shading, then that takes a little bit more time. As I say, it doesn't end up looking better. I think that if you spend a lot more time doing shades and highlights, it probably does come out better, but I'm trying to get as many models on the tabletop as quickly as possible. Anyway, the next colour is Basilicanum Grey, and I'm just going to do the trousers. Okay, trousers done. So next I'm going to use the Apothecary White contrast paint, and I'm now going to pick out the cross belts and his gloves for the white details. And this is a sort of an off-white, so what I will be doing later on is just coming back with some pure white, and I'll just be highlighting along that, but this gives it a nice base, makes the edges look a bit dirty. I just realised that I'm a couple of weeks late, but it was Napoleon's 250th anniversary of his birth a couple of weeks ago, and I probably should have painted something French. And that is a prime example of why you need to wait to make sure everything is completely dry. So I'm now going to wait a little bit longer, wait for everything to dry, and then pick it up again. Okay, so we got over the little mistake there, and now I'm going to use Iyanden Yellow, and I'm now going to pick out the part of the tunic just here, and round the back here where we have those sort of yellow gold details. I think it's quite good that you can actually see that these aren't a miracle cure for painting. They have their own issues, just like every other paint and method. Okay, yellow complete. Now I'm just going to use a basic blue. I'm using the Crag blue from Games Workshop, but any dark blue will do. And I'm going to pick out the collar. Collar has just been sort of roughed in, and I'm now going to use the same blue as a base on the canteen here, and also the stripe down the trousers. Right, now I'm going to use black Templar contrast paint, and we're going to do the shoes, the part of the bag there, and pretty much the entire helmet, because I'll pick out the gold details later on. Right, while I'm waiting for all that black to dry, I'm just going to come in and use the contrast wildwood on the carbine that's here. Right, that's the carbine done. So I'm just going to do the blade of the sword and his scabbard. I'm going to be using gunmetal from the Vallejo game colour range, just watered down, about 50-50. Right, as I had the silver out and the wildwood had dried on the carbine, I've just gone ahead and already just done the barrel on that. So everything under here is now dried, so I'm just going to use some Guilliman flesh, 50-50 with some of the contrast medium, and I'm going to do the face, and I don't want to overload the brush. So right, that's all the basics done. So now I can just go through and start doing some highlighting and picking out some of the details. And I'm going to start off with just using some pure white, as I said earlier. And I'm just going to go through, do a bit of highlighting on the gloves and the belt. And I'm also going to fix that mistake from earlier on with the red. And I'm just going to pick out some of the higher points of his gloves and the belts. Okay, changed my mind slightly. I'm going to do just a slight highlight on the tops of the tunic, and I'm using a small part of Fire Dragon Bright mixed with Evil Sun Scarlet and a bit of the technical contrast medium, and I'm just going to pick out some upper parts of that red tunic. Right, using a light blue, I've chosen electric blue, which is a Game Air colour. Just going to do a bit of a highlight on the canteen. This makes it look a little bit worn. Then I'm going to do exactly the same on his collar. Don't want very much on the brush at all. Bit of Nuln Oil wash on the scabbard and on the sword itself and any other metallic parts. And we'll come back in and highlight that up. Okay, now for one of the fiddly bits, I'm going to use Dark Stars Molten Gold. Classic gold, and I'm going to pick out the gold trim on the helmet. Just going to use a little Gore Grunter fur to do his hair. And then when that gold is all dried, I'm going to put a little wash on that and do some spot highlights. And he's very nearly done. So I'm just going to do Seraphim Sepia on the gold, but any sepia or dark brown wash will do. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm just going to use some Air Colour Chrome, and I'm just going to do some edge highlighting on the sword and the scabbard. Now with that wash dry on the gold on the helmet, I'm just going to use the same gold just to put in a bit of highlights. I think just looking at this, I am going to just bring some normal black paint just across the inside of the helmet here, leaving the plume and the front here. And that will just finish that off, I think. And finally, just like I did with the horse, very, very light dry brush all over of deck tan, just hitting the plume and the higher areas, and just give it a little bit of wear. He's been in the saddle for a while. Right, there we are then. So after completing the deck tan dry brush, I just removed him from the end of the nail and just stuck him into the saddle. I then just finished the horse off by doing its eye, and overall I'm pleased with this. I think the contrast paints work better if you're using them in conjunction with normal paints, and to be honest, this guy, it's probably taken me about half an hour to do the horse and the rider. I've got 12 guys per box to do, so 6 hours for a unit of 12 horsemen before basing. I think that's fair enough, and I'm pleased with how he looks. So I hope this has been informative for you guys. Just like to say a thank you as well to everyone who has subscribed. You know, I wasn't expecting to see, you know, people subscribing to these when I started to do them. I simply went looking for videos about painting up stuff to a tabletop standard quickly, and I couldn't really find anything. There is some great videos about there showing some great paint jobs, but I didn't want to spend, you know, 6 hours per man, especially when you're dealing with historical miniatures and you've got large collections. So, no, thank you very much. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed these. I think I'm going to try and do a quick extra video with these, and I'll try and do one of the Scots Greys horses, see what the contrast paints can do with that. Maybe look at doing some wet blending with the white and the grey colour, see if we can have a bit of fun there. Anyway, I hope you all have a good bank holiday weekend. Cheers.